Yes? Okay, so I'm gonna kind of look at this, we'll look at this a couple of different ways. So if I look at this side of this equation, I'm not even worried about the 4 right now. If I look at this side of this equation, this is a perfect square trinomial on this side. Meaning if I take the square root of 49, which is 7, and I multiply it times 2, it gets me this number. It's a perfect square trinomial, right? If I look on the other side of that, 4 is also a perfect square, which makes it really nice, okay? So basically what I'm doing is I'm factoring this side over here, and I'm leaving my 4 alone. Everybody okay there? So this would be x plus 7 and x plus 7, right? Which I could write how? When I have the same factor twice.
X plus 7 squared.
I can write it as x plus 7 squared. So when I write it as x plus 7 squared is equal to 4, I have something like this. Remember, we just did solving by square roots, right? And this is a perfect square, right? And this over here, also a perfect square, even if what's on the other side isn't a perfect square. The left side's still a perfect square because it's something squared, right? So if I want to get rid of that, you have to remember that if I take the square root of a square, then they undo each other. Y'all remember that? Yes? The square undoes the square root, or the square root undoes the square, depending on which order you have it in. So it really doesn't matter. Which means I can take the square root of this side, I can take the square root of this side, right? So when I take the square root of the left side, the square goes away, and I just have x plus 7. Are we okay there? When I take the square root of the right side, I have both positive and negative 2. Alright, now here's what you cannot do, because this is what kids always do wrong. You just want to subtract 7 and write plus or minus 5. That is not true. That is not how that works. Okay? So when I have this situation and I have x plus 7, then I am going to move 7 to the other side, which means when 7 goes to the other side, it's going to be negative, right? So I would subtract 7. So I would have x is equal to negative 7 plus or minus 2. Well, that means I have negative 7 plus 2, which does in fact give me negative 5. And I have negative 7 minus 2, which gives me negative 9. So you see I did not get plus or minus 5 there. I can't just do the positive version and then say plus or minus that. It does not work. You have to separate it. Is everybody okay? Because that's what kids do wrong. So here, x is equal to negative 9 and negative 5, which means had I moved the 4 over here and I'd subtracted that and I would have had 45, if I had factored it then, I would have had x plus 9 and x minus 5, which gives me the solutions negative 9 and negative 5. But because it's a perfect square trinomial, I don't have to do it that way. I could, and it's okay. There's more than one way to get there. Is everybody all right? Okay. The same is going to be true with this one right here. I'm going to do it the exact same way. So this side is going to be x. My sign is going to be minus the square root of 9 is 3. Are we all right with that? And then it's squared. Yes? Is equal to 20. Well, when I take the square root on both sides here, left side's nice, it becomes x minus 3, right? Well, the square root of 20, it's not a perfect square, so I have to simplify that. And the square root of 20, if I do it like this, that's the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. Are we in agreement there? Square root of 4 is 2, so this side is plus or minus 2 square root of 5. Are we okay there? Yes? Then the only thing left to do is to bring my 3 over, right? So I would add 3 to both sides. So I have x is equal to, this now is a positive 3, right? Plus or minus 2 square root of 5. And because it has the radical, I can't really do 3 plus 2 square root of 5 and 3 minus 2 square root of 5 because it's some ugly decimal that I don't want. Okay? Now, could I find out what those decimals are, move this 20 to the other side, graph it, and get the answer? I could. It's going to be some ugly decimal, but it would match. Does that make sense? So for all of you that really like to check your answers and know that you got it right, you would subtract 20 to the other side, which would give you a negative 11. You can go graph x squared minus 6x minus 11. it crosses in not nice places. One of them is gonna be, let's see, 3 plus, is it 2 square root of 5. One of them is gonna be 7.47213595, and the other one's gonna be whatever you get when you do 3 minus 2 square root of 5. So they're not nice numbers, but you can do, y'all remember how to do second trace on your calculator, and then get the select 0 and do above it and below it, or to the left and to the right, and you get those numbers. So you can verify it that way, if you choose to. Everybody okay? Or you could kind of look at it and be like, yeah, that makes sense. We okay there? Alright, so that's the process. So we're basically doing the same thing. Down here, it's just that they want to, so the process is we're going to change it to a perfect square trinomial and do all our stuff. Now here, I don't have a number on both sides, right? So this is where my little plus the blank stuff comes in that we've done. Are we okay there? Because this isn't a perfect square over here that I can write it that way and take the square root. Go with me? Okay. So I'm going to move 56 to the other side. Is everybody okay there? So I'm going to have x squared minus 18x plus my whatever I need is equal to, when 56 goes to the other side, what happens? It's a negative 56 plus the same blank that was there. So if you had trouble with this the first time, maybe we'll get it this time. We okay? Yeah? Alright, so then I come down here with my parentheses, and that parentheses is going to be squared, like I already know that in advance. Everybody okay there? This is going to be x minus. How do I know it's x minus? Because the sign right here is the sign right here. Is everybody okay there? How do I get this number right here? I divide 18 by 2, which is 9. When I square 9, I get what number? 81, which technically goes here, and it also goes over here. Over here, it really doesn't make any difference because what I'm showing is that this is the square root of that. Does that make sense? Everybody okay there? So now on the other side, I have 81 plus 56, negative 56, which in this case is nice because it's 25. Now what do I do? Take the square root of both sides. So over here, I end up with x minus 9, whatever was inside my parentheses. Are we okay here? Square root of 25 is plus or minus 5. So now I've got to move my 9 to the other side, right? Okay, so I have plus 9, and I'm going to put it in the front because if right here, remember that number needs to be in the front. So that's why I wrote it there. Is everybody okay there? So that's why I put my 9 here. So now what I have is 9 plus 5 and 9 minus 5, right? 9 plus 5 is 14, and 9 minus 5 is 4. So I have x is equal to 4 and 14. And if I graphed that, that's where it would cross. Everybody okay? All right, this one.
So we put these in histograms?
Huh?
Or is that just?
I mean, should you? Yes. If you don't, I'm not going to get bent out of shape about it. I just want to make sure we can get there. I'm much more concerned about your process than the order in which you write your answers. Now, on a test, would they be written in order? Of course they would. But like, I'm not going to get bent out of shape with that. As long as you got the right number on the right side and I can see what you did. Okay. All right, here, I've got this 2 out front, right? Remember, the 2 at the front of that, all that really does is it stretches my function. Is everybody okay with that? That's what that number does? It really doesn't do anything else. It doesn't affect the zeros of my function. It affects how skinny my quadratic is. That's really all it does. So I have to take it out, right? I still am going to have to deal with it, but I just want to make sure that we understand what its purpose is. So if I pull it out right here, I'm going to have 2 x squared. Remember, when I'm pulling that out, I'm dividing by 2. Is everybody okay with that? But I'm only doing it on the left. Is everybody good? All right, so I've got 2. This sign stays the same. 16 divided by 2 is, I have 8x. This is always addition right here. All right, plus my blank. Here, I've got negative 30 over here, and a blank here. If I have a number out here, these blanks aren't going to match. If I have anything out here, those blanks aren't going to match. Is everybody okay? All right, so I still have this 2. I have to keep it. I can't get rid of it yet. I know this is squared, and I know this is x minus. Automatic. Everybody good there? What number goes here?
16 or 4.
Right here is a 4. Good. When I square 4, it's what?
16.
16. But over here, what do I have to do with that 16? I have to multiply it by the 2. Is everybody okay there? So 16 times 2 gives me 32. Now over here I have negative 30 and 32, which gives me positive 2, right? Okay, before I take the square root of this, I need to get rid of that 2 out front. How do I get rid of it? Huh?
Oh, no, you
I'm going to divide it out. I'm going to get rid of it completely. I'm going to divide by 2. I can't distribute it into that because this is squared. Does that make sense? Order of operations says that's a no-no. Is everybody good? So, but I can cancel that off. So now I have x minus 4 squared is equal to 2 divided by 2 is 1, right? Now I can take the square root of both sides. I can't take the square root of both sides until I have a single thing on the left and a single thing on the right. Is everybody okay there? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So square root over here leaves me with x minus 4. Square root over here gives me plus or minus 1. So I now, when I bring my 4 over, it becomes a positive 4, right? So I have 4 plus 1, and I have 4 minus 1. 4 plus 1 gives me 5, and 4 minus 1 gives me 3, so I have 3 and 5. Everybody okay there? Questions at all? Alright, I said this isn't super difficult. This is those ones when I had y'all working on your study guide that one day, I think while kids were taking PSAT or SAT or whatever, and y'all got to these and I was like, shoot, y'all can't do those yet.
Oh, no.
Because you get to a point where you're like, you get to this point right here and y'all didn't know what to do from there because you hadn't gotten that far. Does that make sense? So now you'll be able to do those problems. Alright. I'm gonna jump to 6. Alright. What do I need to do here? I need to move the 8 over because we're completing the squares here. Okay? So I'm gonna move the 8 over. So that leaves me with 3x squared plus 10x equal to negative 8, right? Now I'm gonna have to pull this 3 out. That is not gonna be real nice with 10, but it'll be okay. We'll work it out, okay? Don't worry. So I've got this 3 I'm gonna pull out. Is everybody good there? And then I'm gonna have x squared plus, when I do 10 divided by 3, it does not divide evenly. It's okay. Be good. 10 over 3. Are we okay there? Yes? X plus blank is equal to my negative 8 plus whatever I'm going to get over here. Everybody okay? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Alright, now I'm going here. I know I'm going to have this parentheses squared. The 3 is still out here. This is going to be x plus, right? Then I've got to take half of 10 over 3. Right? So what is half of 10 over 3?
5 over 3.
5 over 3. Okay. Did y'all do it in your calculator? Please tell me you do it in your calculator. Yes? Okay. Now when I square 5 over 3, that gives me 25 over 9. Is everybody okay there? Because I got to square the top and the bottom. Is everybody good? Yes? Okay. Now, I don't just write 25 over 9 over here because I've got to multiply it times that 3. Is everybody okay there? So do 25 over 9 times 3.
25 over 3.
25 over 3 is what I have over here. Everybody okay? Yes? This will work itself out in a little bit. Alright, so I got this. Now, I have a negative 8 plus 25 over 3. Somebody calculator. That would be negative 24 thirds. Does it come out to be 1/3?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's what I got in my head, but you know, never mind. Alright, so I've got a third here, right? Now what do I need to do?
Divide out the 3.
I need to divide out the 3. So I'm dividing by 3 here, and I'm going to divide by 3 here. What happens when I do 1/3 divided by 3? It cancels, sort of, not exactly. Do it in your calculator. Because I have to multiply by its reciprocal. Technically, this is 3 over 1. I can't divide with a fraction,
1 over
right?
9.
So it ends up being 1 over 9. How nice. Because what do I know about 1 and 9? They're both perfect squares. Alright, are we okay so far? Everybody good? Yes? Okay. So now my next step is square to both sides. Are we okay? Over here, I just have x plus 5/3. Over here, I get plus or minus 1 over 3, because the square root of 1 is 1 and the square root of 9 is 3, right? Everybody okay? Anybody have a question or we're okay? Everybody good? Okay, now, next step is to do what? Subtract the 5/3. So I've got negative 5/3 right here, which means what happens is I have negative 5 over 3 plus 1/3, and I have negative 5 over 3 minus 1/3. This one right here is going to give me negative 4/3, and this one right here is going to give me negative 6/3, which is the same thing as negative 2. So I get x is equal to negative 2 and negative 4/3. And I don't want that decimal. You know I don't want a decimal there. Plus that's a repeating decimal. So I'd rather have, I want the fraction. Everybody good? Are we comfortable with the process? That's kind of a lot of steps, but they usually, even when we have that fraction in there, it usually works itself out where it's not horrible. Okay, I'm gonna jump to, were y'all okay on this one right here where we had to simplify that radical? Okay, so, because I have another one, like this one's gonna come out that way, but these are gonna have imaginaries where I feel like we probably need to look at these more so than one that just has the radical. But if y'all feel like you need to see another one with a radical, I'll do it. Y'all tell me.
Can we get one of each?
Huh?
Can we get one of each?
Okay, I just don't know that one imaginary is enough, but we'll go ahead and do this one. It'll be alright. This one is decently quick. Alright, here my 69 is already on the other side, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull out my 3 here, and I'm gonna have x squared minus 10x plus my blank is equal to 69 plus the blank there. Y'all good? Okay, so then I'm gonna go ahead and write my parentheses here. So what number goes here? Squared is 25. For this blank, I'm gonna do what?
Multiply by
Times 3, which gives me 75. So I have kind of a big number, but it'll be alright. Okay, so now I have 3 x minus 5 squared equal to 75 and 69. 140 what?
44.
144. Now I need to do what?
Divide by 3.
Divide the 3 out first. Alright, get rid of that. So I've got x minus 5 squared is equal to 144 divided by 3 was 48. Okay. Now I can take the square root of both sides. So remember, don't take the square root if you still have this number out here. Get rid of it first. Everybody good? Okay. So square root on the left, no big deal. X minus 5. This side, I've got to simplify this radical. The thing y'all do wrong is you try to take too small of a number. 48 divided by 2 is 24. It's not going to work. What's 48 divided by 3?
16.
There it is. So 16 and 3. What's the square root of 16?
4.
Huh? 4. Don't take the square root again. Some of y'all try to do that. Like, just because 4 is a perfect square, we already took it. When I put 4 here, the radical is gone. Is everybody okay? Sometimes y'all try to take the do it twice because you're like, 4 is still a perfect square, and then you write 2, and that's not it. Everybody okay there? So this then is plus or minus 4 square root of 3. Are we okay there? Now, when I have a radical over there, I'm not really going to have 2 problems, right? Because I really can't add 4, I can't add 5 to this, right? So I'm just going to put my 5 right there. Are we good? So these actually are, it's a less step, but I got to do that part anyway. So I've got 5 plus or minus 4 square root of 3, and that's all I can do. Just do not forget, in your radical there, look at that number and make sure that 4 doesn't go into it, or that 9 doesn't go into it, because those are the ones you leave. The number one wrong number kids leave in there is 8. 8 and 12. I see them all the time underneath the radical. Many of you have already missed questions because you've left an 8 or a 12 under there. Those are the most common. Can't do it. 8 has a 4 in there. You can take it out. 12 has a 4. You can take it out. Everybody okay? Alright, so here, this one, what do I need to do first? I'm going to move the 43. So I have x squared plus 12x plus a blank is equal to negative 43 plus a blank over here. Good? So I've got x plus something squared. What's my number there? 6. When I square it, I get 36. There's nothing out front, so it goes over here. Alright, negative 43 and 36 is negative 7. Alright, already I've got a negative over there. Already it's going to be imaginary. Okay? So when I take the square root right here, x plus 6 is fine. No issue. Okay, so technically I can rewrite this as square root of negative 1 and the square root of 7, right? Yes? The square root of negative 1 is plus or minus I. Are we okay there? Yes? So this is plus or minus I square root of 7, because 7 has no factors. And even if it did, they wouldn't be a perfect square. Are we okay there? Then I've got my minus 6, minus 6. So x is equal to negative 6 plus or minus I square root of 7. The I must be in front of the radical. Don't write it at the back. Okay? Is everybody good there? And the negative 6 needs to be in front. Also not at the back. Remember, your format is A plus BI. This is A. My B here is 1. I know there's a radical here, but we don't put the I at the back of the radical. We put it in front of it. Is everybody okay there? Alright, so let's take a look at this one. What did they do here? Yeah, it's not in the right form, so I need my 16x to go to the left, and I need my 76 to go to the right, which means their signs are going to change when we swap them around. Are we okay there? So I've got 4x squared minus 16x is equal to a negative 76. Are y'all good there? Yeah? Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pull this 4 as I set this up. So I've got 4x squared. I've got to divide the 16 by 4. So that's going to be minus 4x plus my blank is equal to negative 76 plus my blank. We good there? So when I write this part down here, what goes in this blank here?
4.
Or sorry,
sorry.
what goes in this spot? Sorry.
2.
2 squared 4 here. Then what goes back here?
16.
The 16, because I multiply the 4 back in. Are we all right there? All right. So on that side, I get, looks like negative 60. Now what? Divide both sides by 4. So I've got x minus 2 squared is equal to negative 15. So when I take the square root of both sides, 15 doesn't have a square in it either. I wish we had a number that did, so we could make sure we were doing that right. But same like up here, if this had been a negative 48, then I would have had an I right here with that 4. Is everybody okay there if that had been negative 48 up there? Okay. So this technically is negative 1 and 15, and the negative 1 is plus or minus I right there. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, and then, so I have x minus 2 is equal to plus or minus I square root of 15. Y'all don't like it when you have a 2-digit thing under the radical because you think you messed up. You didn't. Alright, so all I gotta do is move add the 2 over there to the front. So I've got x is equal to 2 plus or minus I square root of 15. Make sure too that your plus or minus doesn't go in front of the 2, it goes in front of this, because the 2 is whatever sign it was when I moved it across.